Hi everyone, welcome back to Planfirst Live. And this week we're going to be talking about colour trends for next year. I'm Sian Larkin and I'm the manager for design services at Planfirst Design, where we specialise in architectural, interior and landscaping design. My guest with me today is Amy Watkins. Amy is the commercial colour consultant for Resene. Amy, would you like to say a few words about yourself?
Hey everyone, so I'm the commercial colour consultant for Resene. I've been with Resene now for 13 years, and what my role is, I work alongside the architectural and specifier services with basically giving colour and paint specification advice to interior designers as well as architects. But I also work with the project services team, offering commercial colour help for body corporates and your large scale commercial buildings.
Great, thank you, Amy. I think we're going to jump straight into it today. Amy, you can get started and I'm going to ask you questions as we go.
Awesome. So the upcoming colour trends for the leading trends in 2026. How we get these trends is we work alongside a company called CMG, which does a lot of researching of global trends. And this isn't just around painting colours. We also then look into your fabrics as well as your textures, and in particular, your fashion colour trends. They typically kind of dictate a lot of what you then start to put on your walls.
How do the global trends differ from local trends here in New Zealand?
So when it comes to the kind of global palette, people are typically, and especially in Europe and even America, they like to use the more highly saturated colours. Whereas within New Zealand, we're a bit more of a conservative nature. So therefore, we kind of peel it back. So we'll still take pockets of trends that you're seeing in Europe, but we like to give our own flair and pull it back a little bit, make it easier to live with.
Okay.
So within that, you've got your kind of 4 leading trends. You've got your kind of down-to-earth coastal canvas, the Protopia, and the Cherish. So first, we've got what's known as the Cherish collection. So this is your warm, memory-based, it's an emotional colour, and it's one that can kind of relate to your kind of sandy beaches, and effectively those paints are really starting to become a bit more of a staple paints. With the pink palette, it doesn't necessarily mean we're going to immerse ourselves in the colour and do colour drenching, which is when you have colours on both the walls and the ceiling. This can just be a more layered approach. So consider using colours like Resene Ebb, even good old Spanish white, or a very popular one is called Resene Dust Storm, which are all these muted dusty tones, which make it very easy to live with.
And you would use different shades of that colour?
Absolutely. So you can play with it. If you're a bit more adventurous, it's an easy palette to start off with. If you're just wanting to introduce a little bit of colour in your home, but you're not quite got the confidence level compared to some of these other trends.
Ease your way into it.
It's a good one to ease yourself into it. And it's a good one that you can then layer up. So you can have potentially a half strength in one room, and then into another you'll introduce the double tone. So you're getting this really different sense, different evoking feeling.
So you're actually carrying the themes throughout the house, but not every room is going to look the same.
100%, yeah.
Okay, that's clever strategy.
And then you've got this kind of bolder approach. So the Protopia is all about having rich, high intensity, purpley reds. So colours like Resene Art House, and even the colour maroon. These are bold statement pieces. So you've got to be a real colour lover to enjoy having these in your home. But in saying that too, if you're not a huge colour lover, there's nothing wrong with bringing it in. You can chuck it on a statement piece, so just having one statement wall in a living room, or even in the bedroom, because it's a mixture of the red and the purple. The slight purple hue in it allows for that restful, whereas a true red, such as Resene Red Hot, I wouldn't recommend putting in a bedroom because it's a hyperactive colour. Whereas as soon as you're going into even a living room or a bedroom, you're wanting something that's got a slight cool colour hue in it. So that's your green, your blue, your purple. It immediately softens the colour, creates this restful colour tone. And we're seeing this getting used a lot in the bedrooms because it's a way of adding a little bit of luxury.
It does have a luxurious feel.
Yeah. And that's where that kind of layered approach comes into play. So if you're not feeling confident enough to chuck it on your walls, why not throw in some cushions or a bedspread or even a rug? That will then emphasize this colour trend of the Protopia.
So I'm just having a look at that bedroom.
Yeah.
What colour would you paint the other three walls?
So if you were being true in this design trend, you would immerse yourself. So you would still have all four walls painted the same, but go lighter on the ceiling. So that's where you would go for more of an off-white, so something like Resene Blanc. So it's still got that little bit of the red purple hue in it. So it's a harmonizing colour tone. Whereas if you didn't have the confidence to immerse yourself, or if it was on the southern side of the home where it didn't get a lot of light and you were concerned at how dark that space could look, then again you would go more onto your neutrals for your other three walls and using a colour like white linen. So then it's giving it a feeling of space and a bit more open.
And a bit more light.
Yeah. And then with the third trend, this one's very much a safe haven for New Zealanders as a whole. So the Coastline Canvas is all about your deep blue greens. So past trends, the blues and the greens have always been popular. The key difference with the 2026 of the Coastline Canvas is introducing something with a little bit more of the blue base opposed to the green. So we're going a little bit more into the cooler side of things. And with that, again, it's having something with depth, a bit of saturation. So colours like Resene Deep Teal, Coast, and even something a little bit lighter, like the Forest Green. All those kind of cooler based of the blue-green mix are proving very popular. Now, where you kind of are using these colours, these are both universal for interior and exterior of the homes. If you are chucking it up on the outside, you can have the nice crisp white joinery or even a light roof, or contrasting that, you do have the option of the black, but the key thing is making sure those undertones are right when you're pairing those two together. So it's a very universal palette, this one. And the benefit with it is that you can warm it up or cool it down. So because it's an extension of that natural colour tones, that typical earth palette, it's an easy one that you can introduce warm, sandy, contrasting colour tones, whether it's your flooring or items of furniture, or even contrasting wall colours. There's flexibility with this particular palette.
You know, it's amazing. How many colours does Resene have?
We've got about 15,000.
Really? Because I'm looking at this image, well, it's both blue colours, but they are totally different.
Yeah, and within that, within each of those respective images, there's actually 3 blues per image. So you've got the shelf, you've got the skirting, and then you've got the walls. And then likewise, with the slightly grayer components, you've got your desk, your bedside table, sorry, your framework, and then the main wall colour. So there's so much flexibility. And when it comes to colour as a general rule, it's so subjective, it's so personal.
It is very much so.
So this is probably one of my more favourite trends because you can really play and make it your own. And then the extension of that, you've got this kind of down to earth. So this is one where you start to bring in a bit more of your neutral palette. So you've still got your accent colours of your warmer greens, but in the past, we've used a lot of olive-based greens. This time, we're taking it further into more of a pastel hue. So we're wanting it a bit more softer. So using colours like Green Spring, where it's got a bit of life behind it. It's an almost there, but it's still part of the neutral palette. Same with Resene Lemongrass. And then within this particular one, it's more of a statement accent piece. So you're always including a neutral with a green highlight. So this is where you can play around a little bit more, potentially introducing in a piece of furniture that you've upcycled or a plant pot. And it's all about layering, bringing in more the warmer base of the neutral palettes. So the good old Spanish white and pearl luster and even tea are all within this down-to-earth contrasting green palette.
They're always going to be around, aren't they?
They really are. Even when they're off trend, they're on trend. They are a staple piece. And the reason for that is colours come in cycles, no matter what. If it's always been a popular colour choice, it will come back. It's just a matter of, okay, are we doing it again in 5 years? Or it might be a slightly longer 10-year cycle. At some point in time, the colour tones are always going to come back.
It's like fashion.
Yeah.
It always comes back around.
Yeah, exactly. And then we've got your layered textures. So this is all about creating that kind of movement in your walls. So this is the good old-fashioned French and lime wash look. So how this is, it's a completely customizable finish. And it's effectively turning the interior of your walls, which is your otherwise smooth gib, into a rock, a stone, a plastered. It creates movement, it feels soft, it feels inviting. And the key thing with all of these different colour trends in 2026, they are all wanting that comfort. So with every single one of these styles, it's all about making sure that your home is giving you that sense of comfort. And the nice thing is with this kind of layered textured look that's become, you can really make it your own because it's a completely customizable finish. You're choosing the 2 colour tones that you're going to have the mix. So you can keep it in this kind of lighter concrete wash, but there's nothing stopping you from using the colours from that Coastline Canvas where you've got your deeper blues and using those. And then you've got that sense of the ocean, you've got that movement coming in. And it's a good one to be able to experiment with. It's one if you're feeling like a change, but you don't want to commit to an entire room transformation or even like just a statement wall is a bit too much. Potentially we'll just do some colour blocking, paint out a frame in the centre of the room and then do some ragging and line wash effect.
Painting is actually quite a budget-friendly way of really just giving your home a facelift.
Absolutely, because it's completely customizable. So you've got the option of you're not then having to change your furniture pieces. You can work with the furniture that you've got, and like you say, it's cost effective. If you don't like it in 6 months, it's an easy way to, okay, cool, I only painted one wall, I can paint it out into a different colour. Hence why when you look at exteriors, people typically like that pop of colour on the front door. So as colours and trends change, they've got the option of, okay, cool, I don't like that colour anymore. Oh, I can do that myself.
But I find with those accent paint colours, the house looks totally different if you give the front door, just the front door, a new look.
100%. There's nothing like a fresh lick of paint, even if it's just that subtlety of a variation. As soon as you do just a fresh coat or a slight change in colour hue, it does change the whole space quite nicely.
Let's take one or two of these questions. What is this one? How does Resene spot colours that people will actually love living with in their homes? Interesting question.
It's about understanding like New Zealanders as a whole. So with the different colour forecast and the colour trends, it's that whole peel back approach. So we want something that makes us feel comfortable but is a little bit more kind of daring. So Resene loves to push the boundaries of colour. We like to make sure that we're leading the charge, and within that, it's getting that balance of, okay, we're going to push you a little bit further and make you fall in love with this colour, such as Resene Soul Searcher. That's become quite a popular pink to use, but because of the dusty nature behind it, it's got a little bit of a grey edge, so therefore New Zealanders love it.
So the colours that we've had a look at today, are they New Zealand specific for next year?
Yes, very much so.
So the global trend would be a little bit more daring?
Yeah, it's just that little bit more saturated. So all of these, we're still within that global trend. The only key difference is particularly in that Cherish collection. Instead of, as New Zealanders, we like to have mixture of hues. We don't like to have particular clarity. So when we're looking at pinks, we like to either have a little bit of an orange mix to it or a little bit of a grey dusty edge. Whereas if we were in Europe, we would want a bit more of a Barbie pink. So it's going into that kind of cleaner, saturated hue.
So it depends on the culture, really.
Very much so.
Okay, let's have a look at this one from one of the Refresh guys. When mixing bold and neutral colours, what can we do to make it not overwhelming?
So it's all about making sure that we're layering the undertones in a harmonious way. So if you've got a bold colour that you're going to use, what is the undertone within that colour? We want to make sure that we're choosing a neutral that's a complementary, whether it's that direct complementary, meaning it's sitting opposite on the colour wheel, that way it's going to intensify the colour, or potentially it's a more of a monochromatic approach where we're taking a colour hue and softening it.
So where do you start, with the accent colour or with a neutral?
It completely depends on the space and the client as to what it is. So if you've got a wallpaper, you would choose your wallpaper first because you're more limited in the options as to what you're going to love. Whereas if you're just looking at a statement accent wall, potentially the generalized neutral might be the better way to start, because with that, your statement piece is just that one feature wall in that room. If you're needing the neutral to continue throughout the home, that's when you're going to need to look at flooring, tiling, your kitchen. So again, that will then narrow that field.
Yeah, it's important to actually have a look at those. Often people just look at the colour and they don't actually have a look at the cabinetry they've got.
100%.
And then once they paint, it actually does clash.
Yeah, 100%. And that's the key too, not looking at it online or just on the small colour chips. We always recommend looking at least an A4 brush out drawdown and looking at it in different times of the day. Colour is subjective. It's also always a chameleon. It is going to shift and move. So looking at it in the morning, middle of the day and evening is going to be quite different. So it's important that you are seeing how that colour moves. And if it's moving with you, meaning that it's going to work with the components and limitations in the home, or it's working against, and we need to look at what hues not working to give us a better understanding as to which colour to go for.
Have you had customers in the past that just keep changing their mind because they don't like what the paint looks like at sunset?
100%, in particular with the greys, because New Zealanders do like this kind of mixture of the dustier hues. In the evening is going to look completely different to the middle of the day, and I know of one client that just was not happy and kept changing, but they weren't looking at it in the evening until it was already painted. So they actually repainted their house twice because they didn't listen.
All right, let's have a look at this question. Are these trends more about style, comfort, or the way we want our homes to feel?
It's a bit of both. Yeah.
Too.
Yeah, so it completely depends on what the client is wanting to achieve, but within that it is a bit of both style and comfort.
Here's an interesting one. Do you have ideas for using these palettes in smaller spaces like bathrooms, kitchens, or hallways?
I'm a huge fan of colour drenching, and it's a very popular trend at the moment. So colour drenching is when you're taking a highly pigmented, saturated colour and taking it on both the walls and the ceiling, and especially doing that in a bathroom. It's a space that is typically always darker. You've got a lot of white porcelain anyways. So having a darker colour like Resene Coast on all four walls, chucking it on the ceiling, it actually creates this luxury immersive space. But it's still open because you've got the contrasting usually of a light tile or your porcelain. When it comes to introducing it more into your kitchens or your hallways, that's where, in particular for your kitchens, what's the splashback, bench top and cabinetry as to how that would dictate where you could use those colours. If you're able to change the cabinetry colour, it can be a nice place to introduce one of these particular hues or trends.
So you'd actually just have a fun job.
Yeah, I love it.
Play with colour all day.
Yeah, very much so.
Are there textures, fabrics, or finishes that work best with these trending colours?
So you're still getting a lot of that kind of linen and hessian coming through. So it's those kind of natural fibres. Yeah, earthy natural fibres are proving to be the most popular still with these particular trends. And it comes down to that environmental nature. So us as New Zealanders like to connect with the earth and have that indoor-outdoor flow. It's all about sustainability. So as soon as you're using natural materials, there's just that extension of that environmental sustainability approach.
So which of the colours would you say that were trending this year that are absolutely out for next year?
So it's those terracottas. We really have moved on from the terracottas now.
Finally.
Yeah. Exactly.
And the olive greens?
Olive greens are only around so much as a small accent. So it comes back into more of that down-to-earth palette. So having it opposed to in the past years where we've had them as the statement walls, feature rooms, it's more of paint a pot or a bedside table in the olive green. So it's more of an extension of these lighter neutrals.
And then question from my side is, are there different colour trends for commercial, residential, outdoor spaces, or how do you determine?
So yes, but also no. So it depends on what the scope is in terms of what the client's after. And if it's going into a commercial setting, what it is going to be used for. So residential homes, you do have the flexibility of the client's the only limit, or is it going for a resale, or is this someone's forever home? Whereas when it comes to the commercial, the same kind of approach is had. Whether we've got brand colours that we've got to work for,
Yes.
or is it going to be more of an apartment where you've got body corporates, where people are taking pride in it and wanting to have it look a certain way. So it really does come down to the clients.
Yeah. Are there any other questions here that we haven't looked at yet? This is a new one. How do you keep colours neutral throughout the different seasons, as deep colours are more associated with warmth and lighter colours with cooler weather? That's a good question.
Yeah, it's a very good question. Very much so. So when you're going into these deeper colours, you're typically wanting them used in those kind of cooler months, so your autumn and your winter, because it does give you that feeling of warmth. It's giving you that cocoon kind of setting, whereas the cooler colours, bringing them in spring and summer, that's got a lot more light. So therefore, you're more associated with it in those different settings.
Would you also say that it might be better to paint the darker colours on the southern aspect?
Yeah.
In the southern hemisphere?
Yeah, very much so. And that's again because of that cocooning nature. You're already in the southern side of the house, you're not getting as much natural light. Therefore, okay, let's own the fact and paint it all in the dark colour. But also it comes into play as to what you're using that space for. So if you've got a formal living space, potentially that, even if it's on the northern side of the house, having that in a darker colour because it's a TV room or it's a nice reading nook, having the deeper, more saturated hued colours gives you that feeling of comfort and warmth, and therefore it's that nice relaxing colour tone.
So what would your advice be to a homeowner that wants to repaint their house and they don't know where to start? Where do they start?
They start with, even just if it's an exterior, going for a walk down the street. That's a great first step because you'll immediately go, I like that one, I don't like that one. And it gives you a bit of a starting point. When it comes to interiors, creating a bit of a mood board. So going on your Pinterest, your Instagram and saving things. And then from there, going and meeting with an expert that can help guide you, especially if you're wanting to immerse yourself in colour and have lots of different colours in different rooms and you don't quite know where to start. At least then they know which area you should be starting with. If it's a renovation, what are we limited to? If it's a new build, okay, you can't start with paint colours. You need to go and start with your joinery. So it's all about taking those first steps and doing research, but mood boards is a great tool to start off with.
And if they were to approach a colour consultant, what information would they need to give that colour consultant?
So we always recommend, if we've got a couple of different services. So if you're wanting to meet in a showroom, therefore you need to take some photos of the property. And if there's a new build or a extension or a renovation happening, bring in some plans, because then we'll have an idea of how the light's going to transfer and how dark you can go in a room. Whereas if you're wanting someone to come out on site, really the only research is, okay, are we changing anything? Like, are we needing to change the carpet, or are you changing to aluminium joinery? Those kind of components need to be thought of before you get someone out to site.
So all those key decisions need to actually be made before the time.
Yeah.
Okay, let's put this back on. Was that your last slide,
Yes.
Amy? Okay, just next, this is actually our last Planfirst live for this year. and we will be back on the 14th of January. And then we will be looking at global trends for architecture, interiors, and landscaping for next year. Amy, thank you so much for joining us today. It was an absolute pleasure, and I think we all learned a lot from you.
Thank you so much for having me.
And I'm sure we'll see each other again next year. Thank you, everyone. Happy holidays to you all, and we'll be back next year on the 14th of January. Bye-bye.